Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all ways to build winning teams. I'm your host, Anthony Kuria, and I'm so glad that you could take off your Saturday to come and join us. Yes, and I'm so glad to be here. With this month, we've been discussing issues regarding training and development, and we are privileged to have a cast here who can enable us to deconstruct this particular uh, issue in a most professional way. Today, we are going to discuss on training for impact. Training for impact. And I'm so glad to have with me my co-host and our in-house HR specialist, Madam Zipora Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, viewers.
Yes, yes. And in addition, we have two experts in their field. We have Martha Thuku, our external. I like calling her the consultant for consultants. Martha Thuku, a HR specialist. Welcome, Martha.
Good morning, viewers. Thanks, Tony.
Yes, and my good friend, Mr. Augustus Kiyoko, an insurance executive who apparently, Augustus, people don't know this. You also have a HR training background. How's it?
Yeah, yes.
Karibu
Good
sana.
morning. And yeah, thank you, Tony, and good morning, viewers.
Yes, we are so glad that Martha and Augustus could join us today, where we are discussing, as you all know, HR, human resource management, is more than just about training. It's all about impact. Training is more about impact, really. It's not just ticking a box that we trained X number of staff, we trained Y number of people. It's about the impact. And by carefully designing and delivering training programs, a HR department or HR professionals or a company management can help ensure that employees are able to make a lasting positive impact in their roles. That is basically what you're talking about. We have training, so how does that training come into impact? And therefore, we want for the next 30 or so minutes to deconstruct this matter. And to our viewers and listeners, you're welcome to send your views. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And as you listen, if you have questions, if you have comments, kindly send them in. We would love to tackle them as we go because this is supposed to be interactive discussion. So, to go straight into this matter, Madam Martha, I called you the consultant for consultants. Let's put the rubber on the road. You know, when I think about training for impact, what does impact training mean or look like in the workplace? From your perspective uh, as a HR executive, how does impact training look like in the workplace?
Thanks, Anthony. When you give me that title, you put pressure on me.
Well, you're used to dealing with pressure every day, so this one, what this the kind of pressure I'm putting you on is small for compared to what you'll deal with on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and the rest of the week.
Confuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, training. I think for me, training for that impact training, I think it's that training that affects job performance effectively. And I think I can say it must be intentional,
Yes.
where you train people intentionally, and maybe is to fulfill a few things, like
Yes.
if there is a new technology, then for the implementation of that technology to be effective, then you have to use impact training, meaning you have to train the skills needed to run that new technology. And it can be for everyone in the organization or a
Yes.
specific number of people who then can also train others in the same thing.
Okay.
I think training for impact, it helps keep the organization in times of change. So, and as I said, one of the change is technology. The other change could be like you have a new project. And so the organization can decide to kind of have a team, or, like we had a dream team in the Kenya government
Yes.
one time. So you can have a
Yes.
dream team that will run that project. And so they need to go through a particular training for them to be able to fulfill that dream,
Yes.
the results expected for that dream. So for me, I think that is impact training, because you are actually actively training to achieve job performance of a particular thing. Then there could be impact training that you find in performance appraisal. There are some organizations who actively want to see the skills that the employees have for the job that they are doing. And if there is a skills gap, then they are able to do something we call training needs analysis, and then they develop some trainings to be able to fulfill those skills. And because we have a lot of experts, I have learned Augustine is also a HR. I'll give them an opportunity to add more. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. That is true. That is true. I like the fact that Martha, you brought the issue of impact training is key when you have projects. That's one aspect of looking at it, because you'll find companies have this and that project. You want to train people on a certain, certain, if it's handling certain technology, or it could be the company is what's the word? Is pivoting. That's the word. Is pivoting towards a certain direction, and you need your staff to be trained in that direction. That's one way of looking at it. Augustus, from your seat in management in the insurance industry, what do you think about impact training? How does it look like in the workplace?
Wow, thank you. This is a very good topic, and I'm excited about training. Is everything for me. My experience, in having worked at management level, and the reason from lower ranks to where I am, and just being actively involved in training. Uh, impact training for impact is a training that is geared to produce results. You know, results towards some of the results we want to see is how a job should be done. You know, job performance that influences the job performance on employee positively. Every training, it is very important that every training must have a result, must have an objective. What is it supposed to achieve at the end of people have been trained? It's just not training people for the sake of, as you said in your introductory remarks, ticking the boxes that these people underwent that training. However, whatever kind of training, it could be training on the job, it could be a particular, like Mother or consultant has said, it could be about a project, it could be about a new system, but it could be also
Looks like we lost Augustus there for a moment.
issues. There are emerging issues nowadays in the workplace. Sorry, there are emerging issues in the workplace, and
Yes.
brought about by change and demand of life, and change of social structures, family, environment, and business. So there are also other trainings which are soft for just for example, like first aid. Why are you being trained? You know, Why are you being trained on mental issues? Why are you being
Mm.
trained on health issues?
Mm-hmm.
So this training, like I will give you an example. Like today morning, I went for my gym training.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there's a reason why I'm doing that.
Mm.
And that reason behind what I'm doing, that is the impact. That is the
Mm-hmm.
result that I want to see. So everyone,
Mm.
every organization is begins to train and all that. They must be able to analyze what do they want to achieve at the end of the training.
Okay.
That
Wow. Wow.
if that
Mm-hmm.
question is answered, now that you can say you are doing impact for training for impact. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Wow.
And
Wow.
maybe I can
Yes.
add what Augustine is saying. When he
Yes.
was talking, I just remembered, Tony, when I used to work in the bank,
Mm.
and I think we had issues with collecting debts.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And I remember in our unit, which was risk management,
Mm-hmm.
we were we were divided. There is a team that was selected to form a unit that was called debt recovery unit.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And we had this, by then, the organization was international. We had the Wazungu come. We
Mm-hmm.
were taken to a hotel like for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and we were trained on this new way of recovering debt.
Debt recovery.
Yes. So when we came back, we were really specialists, eh?
Mm.
And it really changed the aspect of risk management in the organization, because when I saw the end results for that year, the
Mm.
the, the recovery of debts had moved. I think we were at 40% and we had moved to 80%.
Mm.
So,
mm,
so as Augustine said, it's you have to first have an impact you are looking at, so that you
Yes.
train people to be able to achieve the end result of whatever it is you are training. Thanks.
Wow. 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 Martha, that is very, very good. You guys went to a hotel to be told to be sophisticated debt collectors.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
Really,
auctioneering 2.0. Yeah.
it didn't
That,
even look like debt collection. It was
come on.
so
Yeah.
involving. Like
mm,
you are being asked for money, but you are feeling like, oh, these people love me. They're
Oh,
even
yeah.
helping me pay this
Yeah.
debt. So
Yeah.
people gladly paid because they didn't feel like they are being pressured.
Ah,
mm.
wow,
Mm,
wow, wow. That's
yeah,
very impactful. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Zippy, what's your take? What's your take concerning impact training?
Oh, thank you, Anthony. I like what Martha and Augustine have shared. And like you're saying, it's not just about ticking the box. And what our training is
Mm,
one of those things we can't run away from. And I would ask, if we are going to train for impact, how is our training connected to our strategic plan? How are our
mm,
training connected to our vision and our mission? Where are we trying to go? Like Augustine was saying, what is the objective? What is the outcome we are looking for? And sometimes
mm,
I've realized we can have an outcome as management what we are trying to achieve, but are we also making the people who we are training understand this is what we are looking at achieving? This is the why we are taking you through the training. So that we are not just
mm,
training people, and sometimes people like going out because either they are going out to the hotels or they are traveling out of town and they're excited about it. But the question
mm,
is, do they understand why we are doing the training? So I think that needs to be very critical how we communicate
mhm,
and how they
mhm,
understand the why we are doing this training and what we are looking at achieving at the end of the day. I like the
mhm,
example Mother has given. They were taken for this training and they knew what the objective was. And at the end of the day, that training has had an impact because they were able to look back and see this is where we have moved from and this is where we are at. And it's a result of the training we've gone through. The other thing, when you're looking at
mhm,
impactful training, I think it also gives everyone an opportunity to improve their skills. When we are doing
mm,
training, sometimes because we have engaged people who are very qualified, there are a lot of times, and especially with the SMEs, we tend to assume this person is trained they know, they understand, and we don't see the need why we need to spend more money actually putting them through training. But I mean, it's the contrary of that. We need to actually put them through training. No matter what we think they know, we need to connect what they know and what we're expecting them to achieve. So it's important for us to know. It also gives an opportunity for everyone to improve their skills. I always say, and I see this a lot when we are doing trainings, I don't know everything. And even through interaction with other people, you get to actually learn something new. So it's important for us to look at it from that perspective, that we are all looking at achieving a common goal. And how do we achieve this? And how do we even measure? When we are looking at whether the training is impactful, how are we going to measure this? Um, do we have any metrics of making us look back and see this is where we are at after 3 4 months 6 months, this is the impact this training has had, so that we are not just ticking the box. I see when you're doing performance management, every employee has this number of defined hours they have to go through training every year. So that training they are going through, how do we go back? What metrics are you using from an HR perspective to actually measure whether the trainings that our people are going through are training that are making sense to the organization? Because yes, I can train, but does it make any sense? So I think there's a lot that we can do to make sure the trainings we are doing, are impactful. And the other thing I would say, when the training is impactful, you'll realize it turns weaknesses you're seeing within your team into strengths. Sometimes you will see a team member as weaknesses, they are not able to deliver a certain result. And instead of strengthening them and putting them through a training that has impact in what they're doing, we tend to give that work to someone else we're thinking they can deliver faster or they can do the job better. So what happens when we do that? We deny an opportunity to this person who could have had an opportunity to improve, the chance to be able to learn a new skill and to be able to actually work and improve their working skills. So I think there's a lot we can do in terms of just making sure our trainings are impactful.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow. That is very powerful, Zippy. I like the fact that you've got to communicate the why to the employees of why they are getting the training. So we
Yeah.
are taking you to Mara Serena. We are taking you to some place in Amboseli, or we are taking you to Upper Hill, that very nice hotel in Upper Hill. What's its name?
Radisson.
Radisson Blue.
Radisson Blue. We are taking you to Radisson Blue, and you're going to eat buffet lunch and all that. You know, but why are we going there? Why are you going out of the city? You're getting per diem and all that. You've got, and Zip, you've brought me to understand. You've reminded me as a trainer that when I am doing the training, I've got to give the trainees a summary of what I intend them to achieve by the end of the session. Augustus, you can imagine
Yeah.
if you're going to train your staff, even just in the office, that okay, guys, we are doing this training to do. Today we are going to train half a day on XYZ, but the end picture needs to be shown to the trainees at the beginning. That by the end of this training, you will need to have achieved. If you're doing fire marshals or you're doing say fire marshals, you're being trained on how to handle firefighting equipment. That by the end of this training, you need to know how to use the blanket. You know how to use the fire extinguishers for electric fires, for oil, for what, all that. And you need to be competent enough to do that so that when the trainees are undergoing the training, they are understanding at the end of the day, this is what I need to understand. And if they're listening, they will hold you, the trainer, to account. They will hold you, the employer, to account. That you went to train on debt collection, like Martha, you did. You guys went as DRE to train. So if at the end of that session you have not quite understood a concept and you are told by the end of the training you will understand it, then you will raise your hand and say, sir, I did not understand X, Y, Z. Can you kindly explain further how this works? So that now, by communicating earlier at what the end result ought to be, at the end of the training, the trainees, if they engage, they will ask questions, they will want clarifications, they will communicate to you whether the training was impactful or not. And really, That is why, as that particular bank, they took you to that very expensive place to hear you say. And Zippy also like the fact that you've said there ought to be metrics showing where has been the impact. Martha, you've brought a very good example that we went for the training, we were collecting at 40%. By the time we're finishing the training, 6 months, 1 year down the line, debt collections had risen to almost 80%. So the person who was doing the training, if there was the HR or the head of training within that organization, they could be able to show that clearly. Yeah, that DRU went for training, and these are the results. So, what you, ladies and gentlemen, what you've just described is gives a summary of what impact training ought to look like. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners, if you're listening to us, you can, as I said earlier, you can send in your questions or comments. If you have practical examples of how impactful training had in your workplace, kindly send them. If you have questions on how you're probably thinking we have sent people to Radisson Blue and we don't get results. Kindly send in the questions on how to frame the why of the how to frame the why to your employees to be able to get results, because this is supposed to be interactive. It's supposed to be, we're supposed to be knowing what we are doing. Now our time is going, but we still have a very deep question here that came to my mind as I was
Anthony,
talking about.
something.
Yes, kindly go ahead.
One of the things I think I've remembered, and especially when we are doing trainings, I've noticed, and I don't know whether this is a challenge with big organizations, but I've seen it a big challenge with SMEs, is where employees don't even understand the reason for the business existence. You will get to understand, do they understand why we're here? Do they understand the mission? Do they understand the vision? Do they understand the values? And can they be able to, unwrap that and understand why is this business here? And I've realized this is a very big challenge to most SMEs. And I think my encouragement is, even as we are doing these trainings, if we don't have our employees understanding the basics of our existence, I think we'll be beating around the bush. We can do a lot of many things to try and help, but we have to come back to the basics. Why are we here? And how is it connected to your job that we have engaged you to do? And I think if we can misunderstand and not understanding the mission or the vision, to cram it and to stay as a statement, to internalize
Mm-hmm.
and become part of that vision, to own that vision, then I think when we start doing other trainings, then they will be able to easily connect. This is why I'm doing this training, is because it's supposed to help the organization achieve this particular objective. So I think that's something I've thought probably I need to add, that I've noticed is a big challenge with most SMEs.
I
Wow,
don't
wow.
think ZP is about SMEs. I think, and we have said everything we have talked about is about the culture of the organization.
Mm.
The organization culture is so important for implementation of these things. I have worked now quite a while with doctors,
Mm-hmm.
and you find that as unless you really bring them down, they expect that if you are given a job, you should go to the ground, you hit the ground running. We've given you
Mm.
a job, duh.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even understand that a small training like orientation
Mm.
into how the organization does things is important. They are expecting you have gone to medical school, you have succeeded in the interview. It means you know your job. So
Mm-hmm.
there are some organizations like that you come in and start working. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the culture. But then there are other organizations that understand that this person to be grounded, they need some form of a
Mm-hmm.
training. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actively look for the skills that are missing because then it is not punitive. You need to bring this person up. So by the time they leave your organization, they are better than you found them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Mm.
and
Augustus,
and
what's
that
your
and
yeah?
yeah, I'm just saying, every day we interact with our staff, from management view. I realize most of my colleagues here discussing from the HR perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in both. You
Mm-hmm.
know, every day we interact with this stuff. I mean, we can see training gaps, we can see training needs every day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like what I do every day, I'm in a heavy customer, environment. You know, where service is required, excellence is required, communication is required. So you can see all these things playing out. Where do these
Mm-hmm.
people need training? You know, where what is it that is affecting their performance? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what you really want to pick out and come up with a training, program on that. For that is based on that will be a training program based on what you see every day, like
Mm-hmm.
communication. You know, customers keep probably complain about we not received our feedback, we not received, or we receive feedback but it's not what we expected. So you
Mm-hmm.
start asking yourself, is there a problem in our communication? Do these people
Mm-hmm.
really understand what is effective communication? You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and probably that could be the problem. You're having issues at your workplace. You're having
Mm-hmm.
issues with your customers. Yes, people, your staff may be communicating out there to the customers, but still we have issues. Maybe because it's
Mm-hmm.
not they are not effectively communicating. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they are not effectively passing the message. They are not
Mm-hmm.
listening to what the clients want. And that
Mm-hmm.
brings you will see a lot of conflicts and feedback. Every time we receive phone calls or my email, we are able at we are from where I sit in management, we are able uh, to diagnose what could be problem in that communication. you know
Mm-hmm.
and probably is it an issue of I think Zipporah somewhere talked about, it could be because of there's a training gap, could be because these people
Mm-hmm.
need to be trained on this how to handle. They came, they were given a job, but they were not told, things have changed. Those of us
Mm-hmm.
who handle customers every day, people have changed, customers have emerged.
Mm-hmm.
Customers
Mm-hmm.
thinking is different. And this is
Mm-hmm.
sparked by things like the Bill of Rights. People now are much informed about their
Mm-hmm.
rights. There are many consumer lobby groups, now coming
Mm-hmm.
up and putting pressure in the way you should give service. It's not
Yes.
business as usual. You used to give service the way you want. It is becoming a consumer right, and they are
Mm-hmm.
protected. And therefore, this stuff means your organization, your staff needs to be able, apart away from giving excellent service.
Mm-hmm.
This issue is also becoming a regulatory issues and a consumer right issue,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
customers know this is the way I ought to be served. It's a
Mm-hmm.
demand. And therefore, as issues emerge outside there in the marketplace, there's
Mm-hmm.
need to constantly train. That is constantly train towards achieving that goal. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
training, it is. So these things you're able to pick out them, every day,
Mm-hmm.
the way people do their work. We are told, like in manufacturing industry, people are trained to reduce accidents. If people are not
Mm-hmm.
trained how to handle machines, you'll have
Mm-hmm.
accidents. That is a cost to the organization. And also it's you are going to attract suits, legal suits,
Mm-hmm.
from your employees for lack of
Mm-hmm.
protection. So you are going
Yes.
to have, so it will curb wastage, even in the service industry. You'll have, because people are trained to do their job, they will do it the first time right. So there will be
Mm-hmm.
no need for repetition, because repetition is wastage of
Mm-hmm.
time and resources. So these things we are able to pick out, managers should be able to pick out daily, so that the
Mm-hmm.
training Anthony and Zipporah and Mother are talking about impact training from the HR perspective. Actually,
Yes.
these needs from the HOD should be able to give out these needs with the chart, because they are the people on the ground. So they know what is happening with their
Mm-hmm.
staff. So that the trainings organization do not spend resources, money, and their time on trainings that are not achieving any results. Yeah. So the HODs are tasked, because they are the people, they are the officers who are in
Mm-hmm.
constant, who are on the ground,
Sure.
as they say. They are the people on the ground, so they are able to see where the training gaps are, and they are able to as Zipporah said, to the strategic of the company, strategic plan. Where is the company going? What is
Mhm.
that the company wants to achieve?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. Augustus, that's a very powerful point from a practical level of an executive who is there running on a daily basis. I like the fact that you've said that there ought to be good coordination between heads of departments and HR on producing practical, impactful training for their staff. That's the first part that I think that was very powerful. And then secondly, the issues regarding remembering, and this matter you also said it, remembering that even people, if you have hired people, you have engaged, including those HODs, you've engaged people into your organization. You've got to remember consciously they're coming to your organization, which is as it were, a legal person, a living organism. That even though I was trained as an accountant and I have joined XYZ company, I don't know their culture. I don't know how they work. I don't know who their customers are. I don't know the internal linkages amongst them, amongst the staff. I don't know what is their mission and vision. So I need to be trained, like Zippy said, on the vision and the mission and why this organization exists, then how my job relates with others, and then what am I supposed to achieve. So that, and I like the fact, Martha, you've said it's not an issue of you're a medical doctor. You have several degrees, like a thermometer next to your name, and you have joined this organization. You need to understand, what does this organization do? What is it that what does it exist to do? So how do I interact? How does my job with its description, how does it interact with my colleagues and out there? And therefore, a form of induction training is necessary. And then after induction, as Zippy has said, you move on to understand, okay, how do I relate with this department, that department? What looking, squeezing it down to what our mission is, then how are we supposed to get certain outcomes? Uh, Things that look very mundane, then that kind of training also needs to come in. Augustus, you've talked about effective communication. And this amazes me all the time. You call a
Mm.
company, you think, hey, I want to be sophisticated and buy a sana. A
Yes.
phone, a simple phone call to the switchboard. It rings, rings, rings. You get that song that sings, 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 sings.
Yes.
Ah, yeah. You call again, then somebody says, hello. You're wondering, okay, I'm calling this very big organization. I thought you guys are trained on how to handle the phone. The switchboard
Mm.
person says, hello, yes. Okay, thank you. They transfer you. It's like, hey, there was no training on how to communicate, receive the
Yeah.
customer. And then you also call certain places, you notice the employees have been trained. They know
Mm.
how to communicate, how to send emails, how to receive emails, how to make phone calls, how to receive phone calls, and also other things internally. So to summarize what you've just said, impactful training needs a lot of coordination. And as Martha, you've said, there has to be no assumptions that because you're trained, then you know. As Zippy has said, you cannot assume you've brought in customers. Do they understand why you exist? So, to our viewers and our listeners out there, if you're business people, if you're corporate executives, you are the entrepreneur there. You need your staff need to understand why you exist. So you need to craft your vision and mission statements very clearly and communicate them well. Communication again, communicate them well to your staff and make them understand this is why we exist. Okay, so we are coming towards the end of our program. So this one I'll put it very briefly for us to talk briefly that
Mm.
then how do we create positive impact for our employees through training? Very briefly, Zippy, let me start with you. Very briefly, how do we create positive impact for our employees through training?
Thank you, Anthony, for that question. I think one of the things we need to do is match employee experiences with their needs. And
Mhm.
if we do that, it will be easy for employees to connect because it's a need they have and the learning experience they need to go through. The other thing I always keep on talking about when we do training is give constructive feedback. There's feedback and there's constructive feedback. So when you're giving
Mm,
feedback, make sure it's constructive feedback that will help the employee actually take that feedback and do something about it. The other thing I would say is remove barriers. A lot of times we put unnecessary barriers that that don't help the employee in achieving the objectives. And the last one I would say,
mm,
encourage a growth oriented approach. When employees know
mm.
this is for my good and I am growing, then chances are they will actually be able to embrace the trainings that you're giving them.
Wow, wow. Thank you, Zippy. Very, very short and sweet. Martha, what's your take on the same?
Okay, quickly, and I like what Zippy has said. I would want to add that should you train for a particular e.g. succession planning, then give that person the opportunity to work in that higher level
Mm,
so that you see how they are performing and they feel also encouraged, and they will feel like this training was impactful and now I can be a manager. Or the other thing you
mm.
can do is give people autonomy once you have trained
Uh-huh.
them. If it's a project, let them
Mhm,
run with it. Like now in my organization, we are having a project, and those guys are running with the project. They are just calling the executives once in a while just to check in. And you
mm,
look at them, even the passion they have, they are feeling
mm.
very, very excited.
Come on.
And the third thing I can say is don't be punitive if you have not trained.
Mm,
Then, like that communication thing,
mhm,
like quickly an example in the bank, we were also trained everyone,
mm.
including the executives, on how to receive phones.
Yes.
So we were taken somewhere. It used to be on a rolling basis. And I was
Mm,
able to say, I can answer my phone. This is, risk
mhm,
management department, Martha speaking, how may I help you? So
mhm,
that's how we used to do it, everyone.
mhm,
And there was no exemption. But then now, if you have not trained me like that, and you call and I answer, yeah, you can't be punitive. You have not trained me to do that. If like
mm,
Augustine was talking about customer service, you have not trained that person on customer service. Umempatia job, and what you want them to do is perform from day one. And if
mm,
within the week they have not produced the whatever targets you had given, then you send them to HR. We made a wrong recruitment. And so that person is not fit to work in that customer service. So yeah, so I'll just say that just actively train people, and also give them the opportunity now to practice what they have been trained on. Thank you.
wow, wow. Augustus,
Yes.
uh, what's your view from a management perspective about creating positive impact through training?
I think for me, uh, it's just the training must be tailor made. It cannot
Mm,
be haphazard.
mhm,
It must be specific. So the training must be geared to meet a certain objective, a
mm,
certain need, and a certain gap.
mm,
And its delivery, the way it is delivered also matters.
mm,
Should be, if the employees want to go out and have training out there, let it be.
mm,
It must also be very motivating. It must be
mm,
also be very interesting. It
mhm.
must be very, encouraging. It must be, training is also an aspect of motivation in the organization.
Mhm.
And that is the only way the staff may know, they are recognized, the organization is investing in them, it's
Yes.
investing in them, values them, and they want them to be better. So for me,
Mm,
it's the way the whole, training is modeled, the way it is delivered, and the way what is supposed to achieve.
mhm.
Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Ladies and gentlemen, well, today we have dissected and we have just barely scratched the surface. I'm sure, Martha, you'll agree with me. We have
Yes.
barely scratched the surface of impactful training. And to our viewers and listeners, our time has really caught up with us. We have barely scratched the surface. But if you'd like to know more, here you can follow us on you can follow us Aurum Consultants on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. And to bring this to a conclusion, what we want to say is that impactful training must be very practical. You start from the very top, understanding why this company exists, and then you now cascade it down to understanding why when you hire somebody, issues regarding induction. Then from there, as Augustus has told us, regarding practical stuff, and then coordination between HODs and HR, and using training also as a motivator. I like that fact also, that training can be a motivator, can be a way to get staff appreciating my employer invests in me, because remember, training is about investing. He's investing in me, and therefore he's training me to become up higher. So we've come to the end of our podcast today. Can you imagine, it's 40 minutes already, and it looks like we've just begun. Yeah, it was very punchy. And to our viewers and to our listeners, we thank you for hanging out with us. At the bottom of your screen, you can see the way you can get in touch with us via SMS, phone calls, via email, via LinkedIn, via YouTube, and Facebook. And we are willing and ready to be able to help you, especially when it comes to training. We here at Aurum Consultants do offer trainings to SMEs and corporates in various areas regarding their staff. As Augustus has said, help bringing practical training to the workplace to enable both the companies and the employees reach another higher level in their execution. If you'd like to know more about our training programs, kindly get in touch with us through the contacts at the bottom of the screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, Augustus, thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Martha, for joining us today. ZP, as usual, thank you for the deep wisdom that you do provide here at Aurum Consultants. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for joining with us today. Join in next week, same time, same place. We have a fresh topic this coming month, and you would not want to miss it. Make sure you join us the next Saturday, same time, same place, and we have something hot and ready for your ears and for your use. I'm your host, Anthony Kuria. It's been a pleasure being with you. Have a good weekend. God bless you. Good.
Yay!
Yeah, time has really flown.
Yeah,
My
that was
friend.
fast.
Online. We
Yeah?
are still online.
Yeah.